Ahoy there! So what did you think of the end of Infinity War? Well, love it or hate it, here's your chance to write your own ending by assembling your own team of superheroes and taking on the villainous Thanos, the tyrant that my phone won't stop autocorrecting to thanks. Well, let's take a look at Thanos Rising by Andrew Wolfe and USAopoly. Alright, first we set up the Infinity Gauntlet board. Place the 6 Infinity Stone cards around it face down, and drop the matching stones themselves on top. Now let's make some common piles nearby. Yellow and red tokens, all 15 power dice, plus the Thanos die and the Infinity Stone die. Also, make a lovely pile of face down bonus tokens. Better yet, put them in a pouch so they'll be good and random. Now you need your deployment zone. Place the board with some room to grow and place Thanos right in the middle, facing one of the 3 sectors. Time to get the cards on the table. Each player picks one of the 4 teams and takes that team base, deployment token, and the team leader card listed on the base. All other cards are shuffled together with the 10 villains to make the asset deck. Place it near the deployment board and deal 1 card into each of the 9 spaces of the 3 sectors of the board. Work out the first player and we're good to go. On your turn, the first thing you'll do is pick one of the 3 sectors to put your deployment token on. This will give you access to the 3 cards deployed there. Next, take the Thanos and Infinity Stone dice and roll them. Ominous feeling, right? The Infinity Stone die will tell you which of the Infinity Stone cards to add a yellow token to. If you get 5 of these tokens on one of these, it'll activate. Then, whenever that result is rolled, even worse things will happen. But more about that later. Now, the Thanos die will get him into the game. Here's what might happen. If it shows an Infinity Stone, roll that die again and add another yellow. Ugh. In the rulebook, it shows a die icon. This is a misprint. Or someone noticed that the original looks suspiciously like a mother box, made famous by the competition. Anyway, if it shows his gauntlet, then the villain cards in the 2 sectors he's not facing will activate. Read their cards and take the effects. If it shows clockwise or counterclockwise movement, rotate him 1 sector in that direction. Now in any of the above cases, once it's done, then he attacks any heroes in that sector for 1 damage. Oh, and if your deployment token is there, then your team is there. So they share in the punishment. Give 1 red token to every member of your team. One more thing. After he attacks, he activates any villains in the sector he's facing. Most of the villains deal damage, except for Squidward, who gets more yellow tokens on the Infinity Stones. Bad Squidward. But when damage is dealt, remember that the deployment token is where your team is, so they get damaged also. Well, if you survived all of that, now it's your chance to avenge yourself. Your base shows you your starting pool of dice, so grab the number and color indicated. Once your team gets more populated, they will bring powers to the table, which may include adding dice. If they do, make sure to take those also. This is up to the amount of each type of dice in the reserve. You can't add dice if you're out of that color. Now, roll them and check your base card again to see if you've activated your team ability. When you start re-rolling or modifying the roll, it's no longer the opening roll, so this is an immediate check. If you get it, yay! If not, meh, carry on. Now here's what you can do with your results. Hero cards are recruited by matching the symbols and number indicated. Villains are similarly damaged, but here's the catch. Each roll you pick 1 card to place dice on. In your sector, of course. Place as many as you want, then re-roll the rest. Now you can pick the same card, or a different card, and follow the same rules. This includes team members that have an activatable effect, since they're in the sector as well. If you can't, or just plain don't want to assign a die, you can instead forfeit it back to the supply, but it's best not to. However, you do have to do one or the other. And using bonus tokens doesn't count toward this. They're just for extra oomph. The assigned dice cannot be moved once placed, so think it through, and make sure you have enough dice to match the card's requirements. Each die has a face with a 2 on its main resource. Obviously, this means it's worth 2 of that icon, but it's rarer than the basic icons naturally. When you're out of dice to roll, or you're just done, move on to applying the results, in this order. Activate hero abilities. That is, if you use dice for this. Recruit a hero. If you matched or exceeded the requirements, sweep any damage off the card and move it to your team. It takes orders from you now. Damage a villain. If you matched or exceeded its requirements, add 1 damage token to it. And as a sweetener, take 1 random bonus token, 1 for each point of damage you inflict. These will come in handy on your or anyone else's turn. They fill in for icons, grant extra dice, all kinds of cool stuff, really. Now, if any cards are defeated, in the deployment zone or on your team, which means their max capacity for damage is filled, they go to the discard pile. And separate heroes and villains for scoring purposes. Also, refill any empty spaces from the asset deck if any cards were defeated or recruited. Next, if any of the Infinity Stone cards have 5 or more tokens, remove the tokens, flip the card, and power up the Infinity Gauntlet with that stone. Uh-oh. End your turn by returning your deployment token to your base. A few other details. Any bonus tokens or hero cards you gained won't activate on the turn they were collected. Also, if an effect, most likely an Infinity Stone, tells you to do something to characters with the most or least of something, this means the highest or lowest amount and includes all possible cards tied for that value. And an individual villain card can only be damaged once per turn via dice fulfillment. And similarly, hero abilities can only be activated once per turn. Now, go around the table taking turns like this until one of the following conditions occurs. If you defeat 7 or more villains, all players are victorious. You can set this number higher for more of a challenge. But here are 3 things that will make everyone lose. If Thanos collects 6 Infinity Stones, if 10 or more heroes are defeated, or if any one team is defeated. If you manage to win and lose at the same time because you're a weirdo, everyone wins anyway. So keep fighting if there's any life left in you. Now that the game is done, what did we think? I'm going to start with our favorite thing about this game. It tells a story. Some games miss that bit in favor of overly intricate mechanics. But this is very streamlined. It's a superhero team-up, and who doesn't love that? You play an unnamed leader of a group of heroes trying to clear the field of threats and deny Thanos an army, while the Mad Titan scrambles to collect the stones, so he can end the fight with, well, less trouble. It's also an absolute truth that the game is made of attractive boards and bits. Some have even repainted their Thanos figure for even greater table presence. If you don't appreciate this element, you'll start thinking about how much smaller this box could have been if he were just a token instead. The game is pretty simple, but there's a lot of text describing each step, which may make it feel heavier than it actually is. Hopefully videos like this one will help you get into the action faster. An insider note is that we do our best to avoid other walkthroughs on the web while planning ours, so that our opinions get less influence from other reviewers, but that's another thing. We have nonetheless bumped into the complaint that the game is too simple for its own good. But I think there are other games that are good for sprawling campaigns. I don't personally mind a trimmer experience, and it suits the theme. It's somewhat disheartening when a turn yields no profit, and your best attempts just get discarded, and Thanos takes another step toward his evil goals. But hey, that's life. For the most part, we have very few problems with this. It's clever and fun. Initially, we imagined the game could be good for expansions, or perhaps a fan reskin. But really, it's just such a good companion for the events of Infinity War that we can no longer imagine it being anything other than what it is. I won't say this often, but this game is fine as is. So while it's challenging managing your resources and having to decide between recruiting to build your team or attacking to whittle down the forces of evil, it's good balanced gameplay, so I wouldn't change a thing. Well, that's all the time we've got for this Pirates Parley. We'd like to thank USAopoly and Andrew Wolf for delivering a fine game. During the writing of this review, we heard the news that Stan Lee had passed away. We'd like to express a, to whom it may concern, appreciation for his life and work, for this game is one of a billion things that would not have existed without him. The creators are what keep us in quality games, comics, movies, whatever. So keep telling stories, true believers, and Excelsior!